Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the Python video tutorials. We'll be going over file operations again in Python. We'll be searching through that T file that we made in the last video. So if you haven't seen that video, watch the last two in the playlist before this one. In the Python playlist you'll find this video. Watch the two before that so you'll know what's happening. So let's get started. I'm in pycharm. So I'm in pycharm and let's probably just work in the main function. We'll use a boolean this time. So we'll have some boolean practice. So we'll say def main again. We'll create a boolean named I'll just call it flag. We'll point it to false. So we'll say actually Python needs capitals for its booleans. So we have flag points to false. What's wrong with that? Spell that wrong. There we go. So we have flag points to false. So here we'll say we'll search for a file. So we'll say search string points to input, the input function, and we'll say enter a description to search for enter a description to search for. So I think our descriptions were teas. For example, I named one like red tea, green tea, and chamomile. So here we'll say we'll create a input file to read from, and we'll say we'll point it to open. Then I'll do a Windows path. Again, you can do the path for your machine. You may have to Google it. So if you're using a Unix machine like Mac or Linux, you can Google how to write your path. You may need to use one or two of these slashes, either forward or backwards. You can just Google it if you're stuck. You can just type in Google, how can I write a path in like Mac or Linux, it'll tell you a file path. So here I'll point so this is a file object now, pointing it to this path, and then we'll call the read mode with the R. And then here we'll say description points to coffee, sorry, not coffee, tea. Actually no, we called this just file.txt. Actually no, sorry, we created a file object, so we'll call our file object input file. We'll call read line. So it's going to read the first line. And then again we'll have a while loop here. We'll say while description does not equal to an empty string, so it's going to check if the string's empty. So if the string's not empty, and this condition is true, then we'll say quantity points to input file dot read line. And we'll say description. Description points to itself, so description points to description, so whatever it's holding. And we're going to modify what it's holding by calling the rstrip method to strip the new line. We're taking the new line out. So once it's out, and we'll say if description points to search, or is equal to in this case. So we'll say if description is equal to search, or if the strings are the same, then we will print the description. Then we will print the quantity. Could just add some spacing there if you want, and then we'll hit so we'll pass in quantity. And then we will just print some formatting, some symbols or something, to space out the different records. And then we'll say we'll set now our flag to true, which means because it was found. We found what we were looking for in the file, so we're setting the boolean to true. So there was a flag, we're setting it to true. Or the flag was hit, basically, we're setting it to true. And then now we'll say we'll get the next description. So we'll say, is that out of the, I think that should be out of the if. I'm not sure actually. May have to play with it to see if it should be in the loop or not. Sorry, in the if. Oh, let's see, because we want to check if it's in the file. So I think either way, if it's not in the file, we want to pretty much check the next line and search it. So we'll say continue to search the file either way. So we'll call description, we'll point to input file, we'll say dot read the next line. Then after all, that should be the end of the while loop. That's correct. Then after that we should have, I think that's correct, then we'll have close the file. So we'll close the file. After that we'll say input file dot close. And then I think either way we'll say that, so basically if we got here, then items were not located in the file. And that should be all. So we'll go for that. There's some mistakes here. What is the mistake? So we have search string. Search, here we go, this should be search str, my bad for that. And there's two more. QTY, okay, that's my bad. We should also call this quantity. Input file, did I spell something wrong here? Okay, yeah, didn't camel case that. Camel case, okay, all done. We'll save that and run it. Enter a description to search for, let's just say red tea. Did I space that out? So I'll just run that again. Whoops. I'll stop that. Run it. Can't remember how I typed that, so I'll say red tea like that. There we go. So we found it. Had a space in it, so it does take spaces into account. So found what so this is how to search a file. So basically this is how to search a file for a specific string. You could search for a number, we could cast it. We know how to cast it. So if we were searching for, let's say so our search string, that's what we're looking for. Enter a description to search for you, so you can write anything that you're looking for. We could point it to the input function. It's going to get saved as a string here, so if we wanted to cast it, as we always do, we can cast to an int or a float, as I say. You guys have heard me say an int cast it to the input function, or float cast it to the input function. That's what I mean. So here we can cast it, we can put that in, well, I guess it's a function, but we can basically cast this function to this function, join them together. In this case, we could search for an int like that. We could do that if you're looking for an int, you're looking for a float. If you're looking for a string, well, technically this is already a string. So the input function takes a string, so it's automatically a string. We don't need to cast it to a string because it returns a string. So if you're searching for different types, that's how you would change it. Here we're searching for a string, so that's what we have. This is our path. So where do we check? This is where we check if description. So description is the input file.read line, right? So if description is empty, or we could have changed this if description does not match our search string as well. We can continue to read line, which will continue to search the line by line. So you can even search, if you really wanted to, you could search the whole, you could take a line of text like this and actually break it down into certain letters that you're looking for. That would require probably a 2D array, so we'll work with that later. So Python may have some built-in functions to use for that. We'll work with those later on. So right now we can scan line by line and see if what we're looking for is in the whole line, and if it is, it'll get a hit. We'll catch something here like red tea which matched one of the lines, and it printed out the quantity. So I could run this again and search for like green tea. Actually, I typed this in a special way. I think I said like decaf like this. I typed it some weird way, so it may not match the exact way. So we could maybe type in chamomile here too. So it did find chamomile and returned the number associated with it. If you guys watched the other video, that was how much chamomile pounds we have, so it was obviously a lot. So yeah, so there you go. Hopefully you guys learned something how to search a file for a string, specific string in a line, basically the whole line. So hopefully that helps. If you guys like the video, you can give it a thumbs up to support the channel. You can subscribe if you like for more programming and investing videos. More languages coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.